Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into something a little less comfortable in ancient Egyptian pyramid just after sunset. The limestone blocks are warm from the sun, but the shadows between them are long and sharp, like the jaws of something that hasn't eaten in 3,000 years. You stand before the entrance, half expecting a booby trap or at least a stern no entry sign in hieroglyphics. Instead, there's just silence. Dry, patient, sand-covered silence. And behind it, 1,000 years of rituals, mummified secrets, and incense so thick it could be considered a solid. You walk inside. It's cooler in here, thick walls do a decent job blocking the desert heat. And your footsteps echo with that distinct, maybe I shouldn't be here tone. The smell is ancient, like frankincense, old wool, and something faintly coppery that might just be ceremonial regret. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Also, drop a comment with your location and local time. I want to know which corner of the world you're listening from as we wander into one of the oldest tombs humanity ever built. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You trail your fingers along the inner wall of the pyramid, where the stone is smoother than it has any right to be, cold to the touch. Just beneath the surface, hundreds of hieroglyphs, gods with falcon heads, beetles with suns for stomachs, and eyes that never blink. You squint into the narrow passage ahead. The torch you carry flickers just enough to reveal a series of steep, ascending steps, each one slightly uneven. Like someone intentionally designed this to be walked in prayer, or with knees trembling, and yours definitely are. Mainstream historians agree that Egyptian pyramids weren't just tombs, they were ritual spaces, places where the dead transitioned and the living, well, didn't always make it back quite the same. Some rituals were public, most weren't. And the pyramid you're in now, that was for the secret ones, the kind whispered about during festivals, while priests looked around to make sure nobody overheard. As you climb higher into the structure, you start to feel it, the subtle pressure of stone all around you. It's not quite claustrophobia, it's more like you're being gently wrapped in the arms of something very, very old. Like a grandmother made entirely of limestone who isn't quite sure she likes you yet. Suddenly, a gust of warm air breathes out of a crevice to your left. That shouldn't happen, but it does. The pyramid exhales. You freeze. Torchlight flickers. Somewhere above, a dull thud echoes, probably just settling stone. Probably. You continue. The hallway opens up into a narrow chamber. At first, it looks empty, but then your eyes adjust, and you see the remnants of an altar. An old stone slab flanked by two niches filled with dried offerings. You can't quite tell what they are. Some look like reeds, some like animal hair. One might be a bird skull or an actual bird. Historians still argue whether these were symbolic sacrifices or, yeah, the less symbolic kind. There's something else, too. Scratches in the wall behind the altar. Not hieroglyphs, not decorative, just crude markings, almost like tallies. You count 57, could be anything. Days, rituals, people. You back away slowly and notice a low tunnel on your right just high enough to crawl through. If you were feeling unwise, naturally, you duck and crawl through it. The tunnel's sides press in. It smells like dust, time, and maybe old goat. You shuffle forward on hands and knees until you emerge in a strange room. Round, small, just enough space for one person to stand in the center. And you do. Above you, the ceiling is conical and blackened from centuries of soot. Directly above the center of the room, a pinhole, just big enough to let a single ray of moonlight pierce through, which it does, like a quiet eye from the sky. You're told this is a room for silence. Ancient priests would stand here for hours, waiting for the light to align perfectly. When it did, they believed the gods were listening. You whisper something. The room holds your voice longer than it should. It bounces once, then again changing pitch ever so slightly. It's probably just acoustics. Or maybe the pyramid just wants to talk. You step out and start making your way back down, only now realizing how long you've been inside. Time works differently here. There is no sound from the outside world, no wind, no insects, just the heavy, gentle weight of carved stone. One fringe theory tucked deep in dusty archaeological journals suggests that some pyramid chambers were designed to mimic sensory deprivation tanks, not for torture or punishment, but for divine access. You weren't supposed to leave feeling relaxed. You were supposed to leave feeling rewritten. And you do feel that, a little. Back at the main corridor, you notice something that wasn't there before. A faint line of red ochre dust leading further in, toward the darker passageways. It's not modern. It's not decorative. It's a path, and you follow it. Because that's what this night is for. You follow paths that weren't meant for you. Listen to echoes that shouldn't answer. And slip into rituals that haven't been spoken aloud for millennia. And still, something listens. You follow the ochre path with the quiet suspicion that it might lead somewhere worse than where you've already been, which is saying a lot. Considering you just whispered into a light shaft meant for gods. The corridor curves now, not in sharp angles, but in a subtle spiral, as if the pyramid is folding you inward like a papyrus scroll. You don't notice it at first. The curve is slow, gentle, but eventually you realize you're not going in a straight line anymore. You're circling something. Then comes the scent salt, sweat, and something sharp, like lye or crushed limestone. You turn a corner and there they are. Two figures in linen kilts, seated on short stools, sharpening blades, not weapons, razors. They look up, not surprised, not welcoming, just expectant. You're here for the preparation. You nod. Obviously, because refusing the ritual haircut in a pyramid seems like a fast way to become a mummy. They motion you forward, and you sit on a carved stone bench that's still warm either from the last visitor or from being very, very haunted. Now, the shaving begins. It's not gentle. This isn't a spa. The bronze razor scrapes your scalp with the same care one might use to peel garlic. Ancient Egyptians believed that the body had to be purified from head to toe before stepping into sacred spaces, and hair. Hair was chaos, unpredictable, wild. It had to go. They scrape and rinse, then scrub your head with salt. You wince. It's exfoliating, yes, but also a little like being sandpapered by divine interns. Next comes the lye, not the industrial kind. This is a paste made from ash and natron, mixed with water from the sacred pool. It smells like regret and scorched barley. They smear it onto your skin. The burn is real. Your pores protest. One of the priests offers a cracked shard of obsidian to check yourself. You stare into the reflection bald, glistening, mildly irritated, but also otherworldly. You already don't quite recognize the person staring back. That's kind of the point. Mainstream history confirms this ritual purification priests underwent regular full-body shavings, eyebrows, head, even underarms. Cleanliness was next to godliness. And the gods, it turns out, we're extremely picky about stubble. Fringe theories say this also made possession easier. Clean skin made the divine more likely to stick, like spirit Velcro. Is that true? Who knows? But you're very, very Velcroed now. Next, they hand you a tunic. It's white, plain, and linen so fine it practically glows. You slip it on, and suddenly, despite the itch of salt still clinging to your skin, you feel aligned. Like a tuning fork that's just been struck. They motion for you to stand. And now the oil. This isn't the anointing from the final ritual. That comes later. This is a primer, a base coat. The oil smells of crushed lotus and maybe a hint of goat. It's slick, sweet, and inexplicably cold. As they smear it across your arms and neck, you hear chanting begin behind you. Low, rhythmic, like someone rocking a cradle for a god. A fringe note from some dusty scholar's footnote suggests that these pre-anointing oils were made not just from flowers, but from sacred animal fats, particularly from bulls that had died under eclipses. You don't ask what's in yours. The priests step back. Their job is done. You nod. Though no one looks you in the eye, the silence swells again. And then, without warning, you're guided into the next chamber. This one lit by only a single flame, flickering inside a deep stone basin. You catch your own reflection in the flame's shimmer and realize you're ready for the next phase. But here's something strange. This room smells not just of oil and ash, but also of citrus. Historians still argue whether ancient Egyptians had access to lemons. Some say yes, through trade routes from the Levant. Others claim no lemons came much later, long after pyramids stopped getting built. But you'd swear, standing here, that you smell it a sharp, clean scent that slices through the must like a warning. Or maybe it's just the lie still stinging your nostrils. Either way, the next doorway waits. You step through. It's darker now, cooler, but your body hums with the memory of touch salt, blade, oil, and that faint citrus ghost still clinging to the air. You are shaved, salted, and oiled. You are stripped of your name, your scent, your softness. You are no longer the person who entered this place. You are someone the gods might recognize. And that is either a blessing or a very bold mistake. Because now, they can see you, and you're not sure if they like what they see. You stand at the threshold of the next chamber, skin humming, head gleaming like a polished alabaster jar, and nose still tingling from lye and something suspiciously lemony. This room is dimmer than the last, not pitch dark, but filtered like the light had to pass through a dozen layers of old silk just to reach you. There's a thick scent in the air now, something fermented, earthy, warm in a way that makes your stomach feel a little nervous. A figure approaches from the shadows. He's draped in linen so white it almost glows. Even here, on his chest hangs a pendant in the shape of a crook and flail, symbols of divine authority, or possibly just aggressive farm tools. His eyes, rimmed in kohl, don't blink as he looks you over. He's carrying a small ceramic jar, and you're not going to like what's inside. He breaks the seal. The smell hits instantly sharp, musky, and vaguely reptilian. You try not to recoil, because that would be rude, and because this man clearly doesn't get no very often. This, he says, in a tone as old as sand, will protect your skin. You glance down into the jar. The mixture is thick, brown, and lumpy. It's crocodile dung. Yep. You knew this moment was coming, at least if you've ever tripped down an Egyptology rabbit hole online. Historians do confirm that crocodile dung was used in ancient Egypt, sometimes as medicine, sometimes as contraception, and yes, sometimes as sun protection. Apparently, it had divine properties, or maybe people were just really committed to the bit. Either way, the priest dips his fingers in and begins dabbing the substance onto your forearms, your cheeks, your forehead. You shiver, not from the coldness of the paste, but from the weird realization that you're now technically in a skincare routine shared by pharaohs and, quite possibly, sorcerers. A fringe theory claims this dung mixture was also used to mask a person's scent, making them invisible to malevolent spirits, or maybe just to other people who didn't want to smell them. The priest finishes and nods once. You feel ripe. He places the jar in your hands, as if to say, now you carry this weirdness forward. And you do. You move deeper into the chamber, cradling the ancient excrement like it's a Fabergé egg. The floor here is smooth, too smooth. You notice faint grooves running along the walls, channels carved with obsessive precision. They're dry now, but once, maybe, they carried oil, or water, or something far more ceremonial. You hear a sound, low, guttural. It's coming from behind a hanging curtain of woven reeds, strung from the ceiling by cords of twisted linen. You push through. The space beyond is round. Like a womb, at its center stands a basin of dark liquid. The priest returns. Did he teleport? And motions for you to sit on a stool carved with lotus petals. You obey, trying not to smear crocodile dung on anything expensive. He dips a ladle into the basin, brings it to your lips. You hesitate. He waits. You sip. The taste is indescribable, bitter, metallic. A little like if burnt molasses had feelings. It burns going down. You want to cough, but you don't. The priest watches too closely. You feel it immediately. Warmth blooming in your chest. Your vision pulses at the edges, as if someone dimmed the brightness by 2 notches. Your ears ring, or sing. It's hard to tell. This is part of the induction. Mainstream archaeology knows that ancient Egyptian rituals often involved sacred brews, herbal infusions mixed with honey, wine, even poppy extract. Mind-altering substances weren't just recreation. They were divine communication tools, portals in a cup. Some scholars argue this was metaphor. Others say the high priests were basically microdosing their way to godhood. Your priest tilts his head, satisfied. Then, He leans close and whispers, "Now they can smell you." You want to ask what that means, but he's already walking away. You remain seated, the basin still steaming in front of you. Every breath feels heavier. You blink, and the walls ripple just slightly. Shapes emerge, lotus blossoms, jackals, spirals of stars. Maybe they were there before. Maybe they are now. The priest disappears again. You're alone, except for the weight of your ritual drink and the slow awareness that you're no longer just in the pyramid. You are part of it. The room darkens, but not like a light going out. More like your eyes adjusting to something unseen. You clutch the jar of crocodile dung a little tighter. It's gross, but it's the only thing that feels real anymore. You're still holding the jar. At this point, it feels like a very unfortunate emotional support item. The dung has dried into faint crusts on your arms, and there's a distinct smell trailing behind you like an ancient warning. But the priest is gone, and the silence has shape now thick and watchful, like it's pressing in from all four walls. You rise from the stool, legs just a little less cooperative than they were a few minutes ago. And there it is, etched on the far wall. A doorway with no door. You wouldn't have seen it in normal light. It's recessed, cleverly cut to look like part of the wall, but the faint hum still echoing in your bones draws your gaze right to it. That, and the fact that there are scratch marks near the base, as if others before you hesitated at the edge, and some may have changed their minds. But you step forward, because of course you do. You pass through the frame and enter a passage narrower than any before. Your shoulders brush stone. The air is heavy, still and oddly warm, like someone just breathed out. It smells of dust and something else. Sweet, maybe resin, or decay. It's hard to tell. You inch forward. The passage slopes down gently, angling into the pyramid's belly. It grows darker with each step, until the only light is the soft glow behind your eyes. You blink once, twice. You think the shadows move when you're not looking directly at them. Then something new, a sound. Not footsteps, not your breathing. It's breathing, but it's not yours. You freeze. The pyramid isn't supposed to breathe, obviously, but this one, it does. You can hear it now, soft and regular. Inhale, exhale, inhale, long pause, then nothing. You swallow. The priest never mentioned this part. No one ever does. Historians still argue whether these secret rooms, unmapped, undocumented, were meant for air circulation or something more spiritual. Some fringe researchers suggest these inner spaces were designed to mimic the lungs of the earth, channeling living breath through the stone itself. Most archaeologists roll their eyes at that. Still, you're here, and it's breathing. You move forward, drawn toward the quiet exhale like a moth to a sigh. The corridor suddenly ends, not with a wall, but with absence. There is a space in front of you that shouldn't exist. A chamber hidden within the pyramid's geometry so deep, so secret, it doesn't even try to impress you. There are no carvings, no statues, no gold, just emptiness. Except there's a single chair in the center of the room, carved from black stone, smooth, familiar. It's facing the wall. You approach, slowly. You're not even sure why you approach. This chair isn't part of any known ritual. It's not mentioned in scrolls or temple etchings, but it hums slightly, like it remembers who used to sit here. There's something carved on the backrest in small, barely legible hieroglyphs. You lean in. It says, "He who watches is not always seen." You take a breath. The air here is warmer than it should be. Closer. You look around, but there's nowhere for anyone to hide. Just flat stone, smooth corners, and that single chair. So why do you feel watched? You step around the chair slowly, half expecting to find someone or something already sitting there. But no, it's empty. For now, the hum returns, louder now, and you realize it's not the chair, it's the wall. Specifically, the wall in front of the chair. You step closer. The surface looks plain, but as you blink, you start to see movement beneath it. Faint shadows, almost like smoke trapped behind the stone. Then the temperature drops. A lot. Your breath fogs, goosebumps rise across your arms, and the crocodile dung cracks faintly on your skin like ancient ice. You touch the wall. It's cold, but it vibrates, like it's alive. This, you realize, is the watching room. One of the fringe theories that most scholars laugh off. is that some pyramids contained rooms where you were seen by divine eyes, not metaphorically, physically, that the gods, or something like them, looked through these walls. And once you entered, they knew you, all of you. That feeling now, that weight on your chest, that's not just the air pressure. You slowly step back. You understand now why there's no decoration here. No offerings, no prayers. You're not meant to do anything in this room. You're meant to be witnessed. The back of your neck tingles, and still, you keep walking. Because this path doesn't end here. This room doesn't ask questions, it only remembers answers. You're starting to wonder what it just learned about you. You step back from the wall slowly, trying not to make sudden movements like you're leaving a wild animal's den without making eye contact. The watching room doesn't make a sound, but you still feel it behind you, pressed against your spine like a cold breath that won't go away. Your bare feet move soundlessly down a passage so narrow that your arms brush both sides. It's darker here, not absence of light dark, but deeper, thicker, as if light has been asked not to disturb this part of the pyramid. And then your ears catch something strange, a low tone, not music exactly, a hum, a single note. You follow it. It gets louder not in volume, but in pressure. You feel it behind your teeth, in your ribs. The corridor opens abruptly, and you find yourself in a long, vaulted space. This chamber has acoustics you can feel. There are no torches here, no lamps, but the walls glitter faintly, as if the stone itself is remembering firelight from centuries ago. And in the center, 6 men, standing shoulder to shoulder in a circle, all dressed in white, heads shaved, eyes closed. Their mouths are open, but what they release isn't singing. It's resonance, deep, ancient chanting, not melodic, not even rhythmic, just harmonic. And the pyramid responds. The stone vibrates just a little. You feel it in your jaw, your fingertips, even your knees. The kind of frequency that makes your skeleton feel like it might be humming back. Mainstream archaeology recognizes this. Some chambers, like the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid, have uncanny acoustic properties. Certain tones echo endlessly, others vanish completely. Nobody's entirely sure why. Theories range from architectural coincidence to deliberate sound engineering meant to amplify ritual. Fringe theories go further. They suggest chanting inside these spaces opened gateways not to other rooms, but to elsewhere. That vibrations align the body with something more, something not from here. You're not sure which camp you fall into. But right now, standing in the doorway, your skin buzzing and the soles of your feet tingling, you're inclined to believe a little of both. One of the chanters opens his eyes and gestures for you to step forward. You obey. He takes your arm and leads you to a point between them. They close ranks, surrounding you. And now you chant, well, you try. The sound you make is awkward, croaky, half a cough, half a vowel. You feel like a frog being asked to sing opera, but they don't laugh. They nod and adjust their pitch. They change their tone to match you, and just like that, you're part of the resonance. It builds around you, vibrations swirling in waves. You don't hear words, there are no words. It's tone, breath, silence, a language older than language. You close your eyes, and in that moment, the room disappears. Or maybe you do. There's a sensation of falling and flying at once, like your consciousness is peeling away from your body, stretching into the walls, into the stone, into the memory of the pyramid itself. You feel sandstorms. You feel a sunrise that happened 5,000 years ago. You feel stairs made of fire, but none of this is visual. It's resonance. Tones describing feelings, describing scenes, describing you. When your eyes open again, you're still standing, but the men are gone. So is the sound. Only the room remains silent, still remembering. And then you see it on the far side of the chamber, an opening, small, carved like a door, but with no door frame, just a black rectangle leading downward. You approach it, footsteps impossibly loud after so much quiet. You pass through and immediately feel your ears pop. There's a shift in air pressure. You descend a short flight of steps, then enter a space unlike any you've seen before. This room is round, perfectly so. The walls are smooth, burnished, and the ceiling is painted, barely visible under the dim glow of a single hanging lamp, a star map. Old constellations, animals, gods, boats floating through the sky. One of the stars pulses faintly with light, like someone painted it with luminous ink that's still alive. Mainstream historians note that some pyramid interiors, especially tomb ceilings, were painted with celestial motifs. The Egyptians were obsessed with the heavens, believing the dead ascended through star charts like train maps to eternity. But this isn't a burial vault. This is a place for the living to look up. There are cushions on the floor, worn, soft. You sink into one. You tilt your head back and stare at the stars, painted in a language your body remembers but your mind doesn't quite grasp. You breathe, and the pyramid breathes with you. You stay seated for a long time, head tilted back, eyes on that faintly glowing star. It doesn't pulse like fire, more like a heartbeat. Slow, calm, like the pyramid has one single, ancient vein of light running through its center. And this is the only place you can see it pulse. The air here tastes different. Drier, somehow, but sweeter too, like the faint trace of incense long burned out. You breathe through your nose and catch notes of something old. Myrrh, perhaps, or labdanum, or maybe something stranger. You rise, your knees crack in protest, reminding you that for all this divine drama, you're still just human, still flesh and bone and recently shaved. The soft cushions behind you give no answer as you walk across the circular room toward the next archway. This one is different, wider, and there's something curling from it. Smoke, thin, silvery, dreamlike. And suddenly, your body remembers something before your mind does. The smoke that sees. You've read about it before, fringe books buried in the back shelves of library basements. Priests who burned sacred herbs not just to smell the gods, but to be seen by them. You step forward. Immediately, the smoke wraps around your face like a curious hand. It doesn't sting, but it doesn't not sting either. It's warm, like breath, and it pulses. You cough once. The sound doesn't echo. It's absorbed instantly by the air. You walk forward blind. The chamber beyond is dim, but glowing from something unseen. No firelight, no flame, just the slow movement of the smoke itself. The room seems to light from the particles. It's not light. It's visibility itself shifting around you. You hear whispers. You stop. They stop. You take another step. They start again. You can't understand them. It's not a language. Not really. More like thoughts that don't belong to you. Mainstream archaeologists agree that myrrh and frankincense were commonly burned in rituals, especially in purification and embalming rites. But the quantities reported in some pyramid accounts, they're absurd. Enough resin to smother a small town in aroma. One theory, it wasn't about smell, it was about altering perception, making people see visions, making rooms come alive. You take another step and nearly trip your foot hits something solid. You look down and see a bowl, carved from alabaster, low and wide, like a ceremonial dish. It holds hot coals, glowing faintly, and on top of them, thin ribbons of dark resin curl and twist, releasing more of the sweet, prickling smoke. You kneel, involuntarily. There's something magnetic about it. The smells, the heat, the hum it seems to emit without sound. You lean closer, and the smoke moves around your face, faster now. It wraps your head, your eyes, your mouth. You inhale. And then you see a face, not your own. It's carved from gold, hovering in the mist. An old face, stern, but not cruel. Eyes wide, lips closed. A crown of feathers. You don't recognize it from any museum or papyrus. But the face sees you, and it smiles. You flinch. The smoke shifts again, and the face vanishes. But the smile stays in your mind like a thumbprint on glass. You rise slowly, not sure if your legs are solid anymore. There's movement in the room again. You see it now along the walls. Figures, carved into the stone. Hundreds of them. Flat silhouettes in profile. Arms outstretched, walking in a line around the room. Their hands hold nothing but your eyes. Ache trying to follow them. Historians still debate whether these marching figures represented the dead or something else. Some say they're echoes of ritual participants. Others whisper that they were meant to trap souls, locking them in repetitive motion forever. Fringe researchers suggest the figures once moved, that they were enchanted or cursed, or both. You don't touch them, because that's the kind of thing you'd regret. The smoke continues to curl around you, no longer oppressive but companionable. It guides you to a small doorway, barely shoulder width, and when you step through, the smoke stops just like that. Gone. You cough once, reflexively, as if you miss it already. You're in a short tunnel now. No carvings, no whispers, just bare stone. And then the air shifts again. A breeze. From deep inside the pyramid, that shouldn't be possible. And yet it is, because now you know. The pyramid breathes, not all the time. But when it chooses, the breeze smells of dust and fire and maybe memory. You follow it, because where there's breath, there must be life, even if it doesn't belong to you. You walk now like someone who's just remembered something heavy. The kind of weight you don't carry in your arms or on your back but behind your eyes. A knowing that seeps down into your bones and takes up residence there. The corridor ahead is narrow again, but this time, the stone is different, smoother, darker, polished so finely it almost reflects the flickering torchlight behind you. You catch your own distorted reflection for a moment, skin glistening, eyes wider than they should be. Something in you looks slightly off. You keep walking, and then you reach it. A small alcove, no bigger than a closet, opens on your left. Inside, resting on a low pedestal, is a golden bowl filled with liquid so dark it seems to absorb the light around it. It doesn't shimmer, it doesn't ripple, it just sits there, thick and still, like syrup waiting to be believed. A single linen-wrapped figure stands beside it, motionless. The priest from earlier, or another, you can't tell. Their head is bowed, hands clasped. You approach. There's no ritual introduction, no words. The priest simply gestures, kneel. You do. Then comes the bowl. He lifts it from the pedestal and holds it out toward you. You take it, careful not to spill a drop. Though, honestly, you're not sure it would move even if you tried. The liquid is almost black, somewhere between molasses and tar. It smells faintly of figs, but also of iron and something like burnt cinnamon, a scent that doesn't belong in the real world. You hesitate, and the priest says, softly, "This is the shadow of the sun." Mainstream scholars have puzzled over ancient Egyptian rites involving sacred drinks. Some texts mention brews used during religious ceremonies, mixtures of wine, lotus, honey, and sometimes opiates or fermented herbs. They weren't meant to intoxicate exactly. They were meant to open, to allow the drinker to cross thresholds without dying. Fringe accounts call these potions sun shadows, the dark mirror of the light that ruled Egypt. Liquid night, poured into gold. You drink. It's not thick, more like warm wine laced with thunder. You swallow once. Then again, the second sip burns less. The third makes your ears hum. Your mouth tingles. Your teeth ache. Your chest glows. And then everything tilts. Not physically. Reality tilts. You are kneeling. Yes, but also floating. The room around you grows taller. The priest grows larger. Or maybe you're shrinking. The bowl is empty. You didn't notice that happening. Then your vision narrows. Colors vanish. And you are standing at the edge of a great river. But not that river. Not the Nile. Something else. A river made of light and ink, flowing without banks, sky above, but not sky. And the stars, familiar but wrong, rotate in patterns you've never seen before, as if they are watching each other. You hear drums in the distance, and laughter, not human, not cruel either, just old. A voice your own, maybe says, "This is the road to the gods." You blink, and you're back. The priest is gone. The chamber is empty. The golden bowl rests once again on the pedestal, now clean. No trace of liquid remains. You rise to your feet and realize you're sweating. Cold beads along your spine. Your breath comes slower, like your lungs are relearning how to pull air into a body that just went somewhere else. You step into the next hallway. It's colder here, not just in temperature, but in spirit. The stone walls seem to pulse gently, like veins beneath the skin of the pyramid. At your feet, faint carvings guide your steps. Curved lines and spirals, 7 in total, a path etched directly into the floor. You begin to follow. 7 turns, left, left, left again. Each corridor narrowing, darkening, each turn more disorienting than the last. Historians still debate the purpose of these spirals. Some think they represent the soul's journey through the Duat, the Egyptian underworld. Others suggest they were practical, a way to disorient grave robbers. Fringe theories, of course, say they were never meant for mortals at all. You're not sure what to believe anymore. On the fifth turn, you lose all sense of direction. On the sixth, you forget what time feels like. By the seventh, you're certain you've been walking in circles forever. Even though the corridor ahead has changed completely, the walls are covered in carvings now. Not decorative, not narrative, just one image, repeated again and again. A human figure, arms lifted in surrender, standing beneath a blazing sun. And beside that figure, always a shadow. You keep walking, even though your legs ache and your mind feels like it's been boiled and cooled too fast. You move forward, because standing still in this place feels worse. Like standing still is an invitation. The corridor ends abruptly, and what it opens into is different. It's a circular chamber, wider than anything you've seen so far. And in its center stands a low stone dais, octagonal, maybe hexagonal. It's hard to tell because the lines aren't straight. They bend almost imperceptibly, as if space here doesn't follow geometry's rules. The floor is etched with a spiral pattern, wide loops of gold inlay that shimmer faintly in the dimness, even though no direct light touches them. Above the dais, a shaft of pale blue light pierces down from a hole in the ceiling, a perfect cylinder of cool illumination. You look up but can't see the sky. It's just light from somewhere. Standing near the platform is the high priest, or maybe just someone wearing the same robes, only now more elaborate, embroidered with sunbursts and cobras, with lapis lazuli beads stitched into the collar. He doesn't speak. He just holds out his hand. You step forward, barefoot across the gold spirals, which feel warmer than the surrounding stone. When you reach him, he draws a mark on your forehead with something thick and oily. It smells of beeswax and crushed blue lotus sweet, and slightly narcotic. You're guided to the platform and asked to lie down. You hesitate, but only for a second. The moment you recline, the light above you intensifies, not painfully, but enough to make your skin prickle. You close your eyes, and the inside of your lids glow with dancing orange and gold patterns, like firelight underwater. Then the priest begins to speak, slowly, softly, in a language you don't know but understand anyway, not with your mind, but somewhere below that. The words press into you like the weight of a blanket on a sleepless night. He speaks of your body, of what you've brought into this place, of the parts of you that are not worthy, and the parts that still might be saved. Mainstream scholars have found inscriptions describing these purification rites, rituals meant to separate the eternal from the temporary. They weren't metaphorical. The Egyptians believed that, through sacred preparation, the body could become divine. Not symbolic, actual. The priest continues. He speaks of your breath, your memories, your scent, your name. You flinch slightly at that, because your name, your real name, is something you haven't heard in hours, maybe days. You're starting to forget how it sounds. That's not an accident. Fringe scholars argue that names, once removed, create a void. A spiritual blank slate, a space where new identities, even gods, can be inscribed. Others claim it's protection. The fewer names the pyramid can hold on to, the less of you it can keep. Still, hearing anything said aloud in this space feels strange, almost too loud, too sharp. And then the priest stops. The light above you pulses once, and the spiral beneath you warms. You feel it now, not in your skin, but in your bones. A hum. The same one you heard in the chanting chamber, but lower, slower. You realize something is rising. Not from the floor, not from the platform, from you. Something inside you is lifting. Your chest tightens. Not painfully, more like it's being accessed, touched. You want to open your eyes, but you can't. Not yet. Because now you feel the 7 turns again. You're walking them in your mind, or your spirit is. You take the first turn and feel warmth. The second brings cold. The third makes your jaw ache with memory. The fourth whispers your childhood nickname. The fifth is silent. The sixth smells like a funeral. And the seventh is blank, empty, but somehow heavier than all the others combined. Then it passes, and suddenly, you're back in your body, on the platform. eyes still closed, skin still humming. The priest lays something cold across your chest. You open your eyes. It's a feather. Long, white, perfect. The feather of May-at. You recognize it, though you've never seen it before. It's the symbol of truth, balance, and judgment. In Egyptian myth, it was used to weigh the hearts of the dead, to see if they were worthy of paradise or destined to be devoured by Ammon, the soul-munching crocodile-lion-hippo chimera who, frankly, has very bad Yelp reviews. Historians still debate whether this weighing was literal, symbolic, or somewhere in between. Some say it happened in the next world. Others believe select rituals reenacted the judgment in life as practice, or maybe warning. The feather rests against your chest now, unmoving. You don't feel judged, but you do feel noticed. The priest steps back, and for the first time since entering the pyramid, you realize there is no sound anymore. Not your breathing, not the priest, not even the pyramid's hum, just silence. Thick, absolute. You are lying in the exact center of something built to echo, but nothing echoes. That's when you realize this is the moment before the test, and you haven't even asked what's being tested. You wait, still lying on the platform, feather across your chest, the silence pressing into your ears like deep water. It's so complete, so unnatural, you wonder if maybe you've gone deaf. But no, you still feel your heartbeat, still sense the hush of breath moving through your nose. The priest is gone, or maybe he never was. You sit up. The feather doesn't fall. It simply lifts with you, then hovers slightly in the air, as if some unseen hand is still holding it. You blink. The room is different now. The blue shaft of light is gone, replaced by a strange, golden hue that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere. The chamber walls, once blank stone, now flicker with figures, not carved, not painted, projected, like shadows etched in memory. You see gods now, not just Horus and Anubis and Ra, but stranger beings, ones you don't recognize from any museum display, things with too many limbs, or none at all. A creature shaped like a staff, another like a beetle split down the center into mirrored wings. They move slowly, like smoke seen through water. And then, there are the statues, dozens of them, ringed around the chamber. They weren't there before. Each is life-size, human-shaped, cloaked in white linen like the priests. You think they're just stone, at first, but they're too detailed. The curve of fingers, the glint of inlaid eyes, and none of them sit. None of them kneel. They stand and face inward. They are watching you. You walk among them cautiously. The feather follows, gliding behind you at shoulder height like a polite drone. Each statue bears a unique expression. Some are serene, others concerned. One looks like it's just smelled something suspicious. You pause in front of that one, and its eyes move, just slightly, a flicker like a tick. You freeze, but it does not move again. Statues in Egyptian ritual chambers aren't rare. They represented gods, ancestors, and sometimes even the deceased in various stages of divinity. Mainstream archaeology has found evidence that some were placed to observe the living during rites. Fringe scholars, of course, love this idea, claiming that some statues were vessels for spirits used during initiation rites to judge or even inhabit the subject. You move on quickly, but the feeling of being watched only intensifies. The statues don't move, and yet you feel their eyes shift with you. There's a raised platform in the center now. You could swear it wasn't there a moment ago. On it, a narrow, low bed, almost a table. Another feather lies atop it, identical to the one still floating behind you. You approach. The bed is cold, polished basalt, perhaps smooth and slightly concave, as if designed for a body. Yours, most likely. You lie down. Again, the floating feather joins the second, hovering just above your chest. And then, the light shifts. A thin beam, just one, appears above you. It shines down and stops at your heart. Both feathers drift upward slightly, and then descend, slowly, gently, and one of them lands on your chest. The other hesitates, then tips sideways, and falls to the floor. You gasp, but the chamber doesn't react. There is no judgment, no booming voice, no flash of divine light, just the quiet sound of a feather striking stone. The statues remain still, but now their expressions seem different. A little more knowing, a little less distant. You sit up, and this time, when you do the chamber ripples, as if your movement pulled a thread in the fabric of the pyramid. The wall ahead begins to shimmer, not like heat waves, more like cloth being pulled aside from behind glass. A doorway appears, oval-shaped, edged with symbols you can't read but somehow understand. They say, if you enter, your shadow must stay behind. You swallow. That sounds metaphorical. You really hope it's metaphorical. But then you look down and realize you don't have a shadow. Not anymore. The light in this room, wherever it comes from, doesn't allow it. You wave your hand. Nothing. Move your legs. Nothing. It's as if the pyramid has decided you no longer cast anything. Just exist. That's fine. Probably, you step toward the doorway. The space beyond is pitch black but inviting, like velvet. Or an inhale. You glance back once. The chamber, the statues, the feathers, they're all still, waiting. You step through, and the light swallows you. Darkness. Total, not the kind you experience in a bedroom with the lights off, or in a movie theater during the previews. No, this is deeper. It has texture, a softness to it, like silk soaked in ink. It wraps around you immediately, not aggressively, just completely. No light, no sound, no sense of forward or back. And yet, you're still moving. You can feel the slight sway in your hips, the way your bare feet brush against cool stone. You're walking, though you never made the choice. Something beneath you keeps guiding your steps, one after another. Then you feel it, a scent, oil. But not just any oil, this one is heavy, sweet, earthy, almost fermented. You know it before you name it. The scent of Osiris, the oil of the god of the dead, rebirth, and grain. A strange trifecta, but one that suited him well. According to ancient texts, oils used in the rituals of Osiris were said to be brewed with sacred ingredients from the Nile's first flood, barley crushed during eclipses, date syrup aged in silence, and roots pulled from tomb-side gardens that had never seen sunlight. Mainstream Egyptologists have confirmed the importance of scented oils in religious rites, especially those involving death and rebirth. Myrrh, cinnamon, lotus, cedar. They weren't just cosmetic. They were essential. The body was prepared, wrapped, anointed, and sometimes even cooked in them. The fringe theory that the smell itself was the key, that it opened not just the senses, but the soul, that certain oils, when aged long enough, could carry memory, the scent of a god, the scent of transformation. And now, that scent is everywhere. You stop walking because you've arrived. The darkness fades slowly, as if peeled back one sheer layer at a time. And what emerges is golden. Not light, but gold. Walls lined with shimmering linen, thin strips of metal embedded in the seams. The floor is smooth, polished, almost reflective. You see yourself again. But this version of you doesn't look right. The skin is too pale, the eyes too bright. You're glowing, just slightly. And now, so is the oil. A small vessel rests on a pedestal in the center of the room. It's black stone, wide at the base, with a lid shaped like a falcon's head. You approach. Your hand trembles a little, because something about this feels final. You lift the lid, and the scent pours out not as smoke, not as vapor, but like sound. It presses into your ears and throat, into your memory. You think of someone you loved. You think of someone you lost. You think of a moment you buried so deep you forgot it belonged to you. And still, the scent keeps rising. You dip your fingers into the oil. It's warm, not heated, just alive. You smear it along your neck, your wrists, over your heart. You feel like you're writing your name in invisible ink. Then comes the crown. No one puts it on you. It simply appears, a circlet of papyrus and gold filigree, balanced on your brow as if it had always been waiting. It's not heavy, but it feels real, as if you've just passed some silent exam. And in that moment, you realize something terrifying. You're not playing the part of Osiris. You're becoming him. This is the transference chamber, where the line between human and God was intentionally blurred. Historians still argue whether these rites were symbolic dramatizations, elaborate theater, or genuine attempts at apotheosis. But the Egyptians weren't in it for metaphors. Their rituals were precision instruments, tools for transformation. And in this room, transformation is the only outcome. You start to see shapes behind the walls, figures moving just outside your vision. You turn, and they vanish. But when you close your eyes, they're there again. tall, serene, and familiar. You feel pressure on your shoulders, hands, wind, memory. It doesn't matter, because now you kneel, not because you're told to, because the oil demands it, because the gold crown hums softly at your temple, because something is entering the room. You don't hear it, you feel it, like being watched from inside your lungs. And then, a voice, not from outside, from inside you. You are no longer a guest. You open your eyes, the chamber is gone, replaced by a long hallway lined with mirrors, not literal ones, but surfaces that reflect your movement in strange, symbolic ways. In one, you're a falcon. In another, a crocodile. In the last, just your eyes, watching back, and you walk again. The oil has soaked in. The crown no longer weighs anything. And your name, you can't remember it, but that's fine. You're not you anymore. You're someone the gods can speak through, and that's exactly what the next room is for. The hallway of mirrors narrows behind you, disappearing as though it had never existed. You don't turn back. There's nothing to go back to. Not really. You've been stripped of your name, your scent, your shadow, each piece taken gently, like dust brushed from a long-forgotten artifact. And now, you're ready. The next room is small, quiet, too quiet. A stillness that feels held, like the pyramid itself is holding its breath. The walls are blank, the floor smooth, and in the center, a single raised platform bare, clean, and cold. But what catches your eye first is not the platform, it's the light. It shouldn't be here. There's no source, no torch, no window, and yet the space is evenly lit with a soft, neutral glow like moonlight diffused through polished ivory. You look down, and that's when you realize it. You don't cast a shadow. None. Not even a faint smudge beneath your feet. Not even a shimmer against the wall. The light is everywhere, from nowhere, and it is decided. You are no longer allowed to interrupt it. You wave a hand slowly. Nothing. You lift your foot. Still nothing. Historians have documented shadow symbolism in Egyptian belief. The shoot, as they called it, was more than a trick of light. It was a part of your soul, one of 5 distinct pieces. In fact, the shadow represented presence, protection, even memory. Some tombs contain carvings not just of people but of their shadows. So to lose yours, that's not cosmetic, that's cosmic. You step toward the platform, heart ticking like a clock you didn't wind yourself. The stone hums beneath your soles, faintly warm not from heat, but attention. It's as if the pyramid is watching you through its bones, and then you see them. 3 priests. They didn't enter the room. They were already here, standing in recesses you somehow missed. They step forward in perfect synchrony, robed in deep black linen opposite of every priest you've seen before. Their eyes are lined in silver, their faces unreadable. Each holds a vessel, one red, one gold, one black. They do not speak, but the middle one lifts his hand slowly and gestures toward the platform. You climb it, lie flat, close your eyes, and hear the first sound you've heard in what feels like years. Footsteps, soft, even, circular. They walk around you, pouring something. You smell it before you feel it. Frankincense, lotus, blood orange, and something else, something sharp, like bruised herbs and midnight. Then coolness on your chest, liquid, a drizzle of one of the vessels, then your wrists, then your forehead. Each touch is precise, time to your breath, measured like a heartbeat. Then the chanting begins, low, in a tongue that sounds like stone moving underwater. You understand none of it and all of it. Somewhere inside you, a part of you is translating. Your bones, maybe. The words are not for your ears. They're for whatever used to live in this chamber, and whatever still might. The priests circle once, twice, then stop, and you feel it. A presence. Not human, not hostile, just immense, like a whale passing silently beneath your boat in the dark. It doesn't touch you, it doesn't speak, but it's here, and you know you're being measured. Not in weight, not in worth, in truth. Every choice, every thought, every action you hoped no one noticed. It's not about punishment, it's about balance. And balance doesn't care if you meant well. The silence returns. The priests vanish again. You sit up, and the room is different. The platform has lowered itself to floor level. The air feels thinner, lighter. You still don't have a shadow, but you're allowed to stand now and move forward. There's a new doorway. No symbol above it this time. just an arch. But there's honey smeared along its threshold. Glossy, golden, fresh. You pause and realize it's not decoration. It's your name. Written in honey. Written and half wiped away. Only part remains. Just a few loops. A faint swirl, barely recognizable. Somewhere behind you, a voice you never hear says, "You have been renamed by forgetting." And then you walk through, because that's what this is about now. Not learning, not surviving, but letting go. And you, without a shadow, with only a fraction of a name, and the smell of 1,000 gods in your hair, are finally ready to pass into the deepest part of the pyramid. The place no one draws maps of. The place no one talks about. Because here, you are not a visitor anymore. You're becoming part of the architecture. The air changes as soon as you step through the honey-marked archway. It thickens not in a physical way, but in a temporal one. Time moves differently here. Slower, syrupy, as if you've just walked underwater into the mind of the pyramid itself. The corridor bends not left, not right. It curves like a question that refuses to be answered. And the walls, they hum now, faintly, a low, sympathetic vibration, like when a piano string resonates without being touched. You run your hand along the stone and feel the faintest pulse, like a heartbeat, but not yours. Ahead, the corridor opens into a vast chamber that makes your breath catch. It's round, but not symmetrical. The floor is uneven, sloped slightly toward the center, where a raised circle of stone sits surrounded by concentric rings of fine sand. The walls climb impossibly high, disappearing into darkness that no torch would ever reach. And lining the walls, statues. Dozens of them. Hundreds. Maybe, but not like the ones you saw before. These are older, cruder, each carved with individual care, but no two alike. Some wear animal heads, some bear multiple arms, some are shaped like no being you've ever seen in any text or temple. Their surfaces are smooth, not from polishing, but from time, as if the centuries themselves came here just to touch them. They're facing the center, and they are waiting. You step into the room, the sand shifts beneath your feet with a soft hiss. The moment you cross the outermost ring, the hum stops, just gone. And in that silence, a new sound enters, scraping, stone sliding over stone. You freeze. Slowly, you look up and see it. One of the statues, tall, wide-shouldered, faceless, is moving. Its head turns, just slightly, toward you, and the others follow, one by one. No sudden movements, no aggression, just attention. You are being noticed again. But not like before. This isn't judgment. This is recognition. Because in this chamber, you're no longer here to be tested. You're here to participate. In the center of the platform sits a single object, a heart-shaped vessel, carved from red stone, smooth, seamless, like a pomegranate made of blood and silence. Beside it, a feather. You know what this is? The weighing. Mainstream Egyptology knows this story well. In the Hall of Mayat, a person's heart is weighed against a feather, the symbol of truth. If the heart is heavier, it's consumed by Ammit. If lighter, the soul passes on, justified. But this isn't a myth. This is a reenactment. And it is your turn. You step to the center. The statues do not move, but they feel closer. The red vessel is warm in your hands. You're not sure what it contains, but when you tilt it, something inside shifts. Heavy, thick, not stone, not liquid. Memory. Maybe. The feather lies beside a stone slab flat, with a slight indentation on each side. One for the heart, one for the feather. You place them both gently, and the room changes. Not visually, not audibly, but psychologically, the atmosphere thickens with memories. You start to feel things that aren't yours. A field, a child's laughter, a storm at sea, a betrayal in a courtyard. A mother's silence. They come rapidly, overlapping, then fading. The feather lifts slightly. The heart does not move. Then, both rise together and balance perfectly. No tilt, no wobble, just equilibrium. You feel the statues exhale, not loudly, but in your spine. A long, low release of tension you didn't realize had been there. You passed. Whatever this was, however real or symbolic, it has ended. But the chamber does not open. No new doorway appears. No priest emerges. Instead, you feel the platform begin to descend. Slowly, the circle you stand on sinks into the earth like an offering being received. The statues grow taller as you lower, then they vanish from view. Then the room vanishes, and the sand, and the hum. What remains is darkness. Cool, still, and waiting. You're going down now, deeper, past anything labeled on a map, to a level of the pyramid that doesn't exist in blueprints or speculation. Somewhere beneath history, where only one thing is ever allowed to enter, the self that survives the rituals. You are not the same. You're not sure who you are, but whatever you've become, the pyramid accepts it, and down you go, into the final breath of stone. The descent is slow, silent, like falling through thought. The air thickens, but not with smoke or heat. It's thick with memory, the kind you didn't ask for, the kind you forgot on purpose. You feel it gather around your ankles like fog as the platform lowers into a vast, unseen chamber. No torches, no walls in sight, only the echo of your own breath and the faint tremble of your pulse in your fingertips. And then, with a soft, final sigh, the stone beneath your feet settles. You've arrived. But where? The floor is smooth. Too smooth, like glass worn down by centuries of footsteps that never belonged to anyone living. And you're not alone. They're here. Not people, not gods. Exactly. Figures, looming in the darkness, standing just at the edge of where your vision ends. Some wear crowns, others hold staffs or ankhs. One carries a sheaf of papyrus that glows faintly with ink that moves. Another holds a scale, but not a weighing scale. This one tips inward, bending the very space around it. They don't move, but they are present. You feel it, like being inside a thundercloud that hasn't decided where to strike. And then one of them steps forward. She is tall, robed in translucent linen that hovers just above the ground, though her feet don't move. Her face is covered by a mask half jackal, half woman, and in her hands she holds a spindle of gold thread. She lifts it and speaks, not in sound, in memory. You hear her voice inside your body. It speaks in the shape of something you once knew as a child, a whisper under your bed, a lullaby sung on a stormy night. You have entered the chamber of the woven self. You say nothing. Words feel small here. She continues. What was unmade is now considered. The spindle spins in her fingers, and the thread, almost invisible, begins to stretch from it toward you, not to your hands or your chest, to your head. The thread attaches, impossibly, to thought and begins to pull. You try not to panic, but the sensation is intimate, not painful, but exposing, like someone peeling away your mental wallpaper. The thread begins to glow faintly, and you realize it's weaving your memories, not as images, as patterns, shapes, echoes of emotions, the outline of the person you were now being stitched into something else. A tapestry forms in midair. It moves as it grows, showing not scenes, but reflections. A quiet argument, a road not taken, a kindness you regret, a cruelty you convinced yourself was necessary. The figures watch. They don't speak. They just observe. And you can't look away. The tapestry thickens, folds inward, then spreads. You see a version of yourself standing in a street filled with sand that isn't from any desert you've seen. You see another version kneeling beside a broken vessel, weeping into the hollow. Then it vanishes, not because it's finished, but because you've been seen enough. The thread snaps, softly, no pain, just silence again. The masked woman bows and dissolves into dust. You stand alone once more, and the space shifts, not violently. Like a deep exhale of stone, a hallway appears, straight, smooth, sloped slightly downward. The kind of hallway that shouldn't exist inside a pyramid, clean, seamless, without torch brackets or carvings, just white stone that glows faintly with its own mind. You walk, because of course you do. Your feet don't hurt anymore. Your body feels light. You don't remember your name, but you no longer miss it. It would only weigh you down. As you move, you realize something. The pyramid no longer hums, because it doesn't need to. You're inside its memory now. You're part of it. And this hallway, it isn't taking you deeper into the pyramid. It's taking you deeper into yourself. The temperature drops slightly. You see your breath, but there is no fear, only stillness and the quiet, growing awareness that the next room might not let you leave. But that's fine. You didn't come here to escape. You came to be understood. You reach the end of the hallway, but there's no door, no arch, just a wall, plain, white, seamless. You reach out more out of instinct than intention and press your palm against it. And the wall exhales, not with air, with light. A thin seam glows beneath your fingers, then splits, not open like a door, but inward melting like wax into a wide, dark room beyond. You step inside and are met with silence. Not the heavy silence of judgment or ceremony. This is the silence of presence. The room is vast. It smells of linen and ancient ink, of extinguished flame and dry stone. The air is still, but it tastes metallic on your tongue like memory pressed into a coin. And at the far end, a figure lies in state, wrapped in linen, blackened with time, lying on a stone platform, arms crossed, no mask, no crown, no gold, just stillness. You know what this is. The god's corpse. Or at least, the idea of it. Mainstream historians will tell you that tombs and burial chambers were symbolic spaces, that no true remains of gods were ever laid to rest in them because the gods, after all, were never truly born, and thus could never die. But you feel something else here. Not death, not life, something in between. Fringe scholars write about these rooms as echo chambers, not for sound, but for soul. Places where the gods rested between forms, where ideas went to ferment into belief. And now, you're in one, alone, but not unaccompanied. The wrapped figure doesn't move, but the room does. The temperature shifts, the light folds downward, as if bowing. You take a cautious step closer, and something strange happens. The wrappings of the body begin to shimmer not visibly, but in your mind. Images flicker behind your eyes. Fields of wheat bending under impossible moons. Jackals that speak in riddles. You forget before you finish hearing them. A boat made of bones drifting across a mirror of stars. And then, a voice, not aloud. Inside you, lie beside me. You hesitate. But only because it's such a direct invitation. You move slowly around the platform. The stone is warm. The linen-wrapped figure, unchanged. You lie down on the slab beside it, your body fitting neatly into the impression left by centuries of ritual. You don't close your eyes. You can't, because they already feel closed from the inside out. You're not sleeping. You're merging, not with the corpse, but with the idea of it, with what it means to rest without death. To become symbolic, to hold meaning instead of a heartbeat. The air changes again. You hear nothing, but your breath slows, not by choice, by design. This is the final transformation, the ritual that was never written down. Because the priests knew those who reached this room were no longer students. They were no longer living in the way the living do. They were something else. Between breath and stone, between story and silence, you feel the linen brush your shoulder as if stirred by wind. But there is no wind, just the pyramid shifting around you, adjusting to your new presence. You lie there for what could be minutes or years. Time does not enter this chamber, only meaning does. And slowly, like a boat turning in a dark river, you realize you're not beside the god. You are the god now, not the whole, just one version, one layer, but enough. And somewhere deep inside the walls, the pyramid remembers your weight, your presence, your willingness to lie beside death without needing to be taken by it, and the corpse beside you still doesn't move. It never needed to. It was you all along. You rise. Not quickly, not fully, but deliberately. There's no voice telling you to stand, no priest summoning you forward. Just a quiet understanding that you're done lying down. The linen-wrapped figure beside you hasn't moved. It never needed to. It served its purpose simply by being there, by letting you be there. The final companion, the symbolic twin. You step off the slab and place your bare feet onto the warm stone floor. The moment your weight settles, the chamber responds. A low vibration hums beneath your soles, gentle, almost imperceptible, like a cat purring beneath a sarcophagus. Then the wall ahead opens, not like stone splitting, more like breath releasing. A soft seam of light forms vertically down its center, widening until it reveals one final corridor. And this one feels different. You recognize the air. It smells of dust. Yes, but it's dry now. Not sacred, just normal. There's wind here, faint, stirring your skin like a sigh. You walk, your feet echo with soft, human sound. No chance, no smoke, no weight pressing in on your ribs. The corridor gently ascends, and for the first time in hours, days, centuries, you see sunlight, real sunlight, dust-filled, pale, but undeniably alive. The exit isn't dramatic. It's not carved with gods or flames or warnings. It's just a sloped opening in the side of the pyramid, hidden behind a crumbling wall that must have sealed it long ago. You step through, and the desert meets you like a welcome you forgot you were allowed to have. The sand is warm underfoot, the sky too wide, the air noisy wind, distant birds, the creak of old stone baking in the sun. You look back only once. The entrance is already fading behind you, swallowed by shadow and time. No one will see it again. No one should, because the rituals are not meant for watching. They are meant for changing. And you've been changed. You don't know what name you walked in with, but you know what the pyramid gave you. Not words, not memories, just weight. A gravity you now carry in your spine, in your voice. In the way your shadow, yes, it's back now. Trails just a little slower behind you. You step into the light, and the pyramid breathes behind you, but does not exhale, because something stayed behind. Not your shadow, not your soul, just the part of you that needed to be remembered. You walk toward the horizon, and the gods, they walk with you, not in front, not above, beside, always beside. And now, as you leave the pyramid behind, let the breath in your chest slow. Let your hands unclench, your body soften. The rituals are over now. The salt has been washed away. The oil has faded from your skin. The incense is just a memory in your lungs. But the stillness, that stays because something in you has been emptied. Not lost, just cleared, like a room swept clean at dusk. You walked among stone and shadow. You knelt beside gods made of silence. You were seen, fully seen. And you remained. That's the strange magic of the pyramid. It doesn't steal you. It asks for nothing. It just shows you what waits inside, what you carry, what you no longer need to. So as you close your eyes now, know that you are safe, that your heart has been weighed, that your name, even if forgotten, was spoken once more. The sun will rise again. The sand will shift. And far beneath it all, the chamber still breathes, slowly, endlessly. Like you, and maybe, just maybe, when you sleep tonight, part of you will still hear it. That hush of stone on stone, the heartbeat of the past, calling out, soft as linen. You are remembered. Good night.